Hey everyone, welcome again to the latest installment of The Way It Is. Luca here, and I guess this is one of the perks of doing this gig. So we're sitting on the lawn, the front lawn of, who would have thought it, Kingston has a castle, McIntosh Castle, and I'm here with the proprietor and the owner, Peter Reed. Thanks for being here, Peter.
Great to be here.
We took a tour through the property that's undergoing some extensive renovations.
Yes, I have the dirt right here to show it.
Yes. What made you all of a sudden say, hey, I saw this place, I wanted to buy it, and I wanted to renovate it?
Oh, I love historical buildings. Restorations, what I like to do. And this was the penultimate for me. And I looked at it early on when it was first listed, and I thought, yeah, can't really do that. And then I sort of followed it a little bit, and I was just lucky, lucky. I think right place, right time, but it's a fantastic building.
Well, we took a tour through. The architecture speaks for itself. It's like you say, not only unique, but certainly stunning in certain places and everything like that.
Yeah.
How much of this now, when we went through, you admitted that you like to keep things as original as possible, and you don't like to sort of screw with plans and things like that. So do you find that more challenging in your renovation world?
Sure, yeah, absolutely, because I'm constantly, you take something out because it's bad or it's rotten or it was added, and then you discover something else, and then you discover something else. I like to retain the lath and plaster. I call it the embedded energy in a building. Imagine being that dude the 8-year-old who had to hammer on all that lath, right?
Yeah.
So that's cool, and all the handwork, and so I like to embrace that as much as I can. And in terms of original floor plans, yes, totally. Like, I have now wandered this house so much just working. Mm-hmm. It feels so good the way you walk through pathways and light and all that kind of thing. So why screw with it?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, this is going to be a combination place for you to live and potential rental?
Yeah, a little bit of short-term rental.
Okay.
Yeah, I figure what I'll do is I'll make a little pied-à-terre here. I have another place outside of the city, and then Airbnb upstairs for a while, and then probably flip that around. I'll probably go upstairs, and then I'll probably do something else with the basement apartment.
And you came to this, as you said, you've done some other historical properties, but you came to this through the timber frame world, you were saying, right?
So yeah, I was saying, long time. I love structure. You and I were upstairs, and I said, I just love this stuff. It's so cool. So I've always lived in the country, and I always had barns around. So you can see the timber frame, you can see the structure sitting right there. So it always fascinated me. And then my barn out on Highway 2 had a problem, and then a little company called Gibson Timber Frames came out, and I sort of finagled a little job in there, like a part-time job that I did over 7 years. So I got to cut a whole bunch of frames. I jacked barns. I did lots, and I really love it. I was going to show you my big 1.5-inch chisel and my mallet. Those are my favorite tools.
Right.
What I like to work with.
Now, you're hands-on, but you obviously need more than just a crew of one, so you're fortunate that you've got some reliable trades and things that you've used.
Some great people, yeah. You know what? It's half my hockey team. My men's hockey team, it really is. And I have a new plumber this go around. And then I have a friend that I met. I went to Algonquin College, and I did heritage carpentry and joinery a few years ago. Just kind of, I'd never been at school.
Right.
I'd always just learned.
Right.
Sort of. So I thought I'd formalize that. And then I met Mike Janzik, who's a retired military dude. And he lives in Ottawa, and he comes down 2, 3, 4 days a week when I have a project, and we kind of work together.
Yeah, and because that's, I started this podcast during the pandemic, and I know the pandemic has turned the world on its head in terms of, we just had a conversation about trying to find trades or trying to find cost-efficient trades and things like that. So it's good that you can find people that are... Well,
my drywall guy I met when I was doing the building up near Sealy's Bay, and he set up Gananoque. He was new for me, and fantastic. That's not easy.
No.
Taking this, he uses a fine fiber mesh and this big squeegee and this fixing all the cracks, and it will stay together.
Yeah.
And he had all those complicated joints up at the top. And Gerald Baker is just wonderful. It's just great.
Well, the property is just, it's just stunning. The setting, it's amazing. And What you can't get from this angle is just the yard and behind and those sort of secret gardens, not to borrow,
Right?
but
Yeah, not
to
to
borrow
Right.
an existing establishment's name, but it's just amazing the architecture and the thought that went into these types of buildings.
It
when they were
is. It's about quality of life. These people, they were fortunate. They were lucky people. So it was a different era, and yeah, I think they knew how to live. It was about light and space and out of doors and different lifestyle. And yes, lovely little court. I can't wait to get the gardens fixed. And
Right. Now you said timeline. You're hoping that.
oh, now I got to commit to this.
No, you don't have to commit to anything. We always know there's delays and things like that.
I keep updating that. So right now I'm looking at mid-October for having the upstairs, the main floor and the upper floor, and then I'll work on that basement apartment myself over the next year.
Right. Well, listen, I wish you every success. We have to come back and see the finished product, right? Because it's too exciting not to. I mean, there's just some wonderful stuff going on in there. So Peter, there's a couple of, I mean, apart from, of course, it's a unique architectural property, but there's a couple of interesting little spaces in here, right? There's the one space off to the side here that was almost like a, well, what you mentioned the name, what would you have called it? It's
maybe a sanatorium, I don't know.
Right. And the history, what's the history of that again? You mentioned?
Well, okay, so the side entrance is that thing that sticks out there, and that's the servants' entrance. It's a lovely door. And then it ended just above the doorway, and it had its normal battlements like that. And I believe it was the second owner, I'm not 100% sure, but he had a daughter who had TB, tuberculosis.
Right.
And I guess the healing for that in the day was plenty of light and plenty of air.
Right.
So he built that second story up, and as you see, it's the whole, all three faces are just windows.
No, it's amazing space, no question. And then we have a turret that you can access.
Of course we do.
With inside eavesdropping.
Right, that's right. Okay. What do you want to hear about, the story of the eavesdropping? I'll tell you about the eavesdropping first, because I'm a builder, and that's cool. So, obviously, they couldn't get from conditioned space, which is humid, into unconditioned space, which is freezing in the wintertime. So the hot, humid air would go up there and condense out on the windows and pour down the windows. And so it would make a mess. So they built little eavesdrops inside the house with a little pipe going out to catch all the water. That's not a totally interesting story. And I don't know if it's the first or second owner, but so that's the jailhouse and that's the courthouse. And there were hangings there. And the lady of the house wanted to see the hangings but didn't want to associate with the riffraff. So apparently she had their servants take a little table and a chair up there with her tea, and she would sit in the balcony and watch the hangings going on behind her.
Wow. Well.
Very dignified, right?
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and please don't forget to subscribe.